All that being said, Scotty's gonna win, right?
Yes, I think
Absolutely.
Scotty will win.
I
I think
mean,
Scotty will win. Our picks
Scotty's,
won't show that because that's not fun, but we all think Scotty's going to win this
yeah,
thing.
Scotty's definitely gonna win. Welcome to Center Cup. I'm Tommy Serino, joined as always by Will Neary and Nick Newmeyer. And today we've got a preview day with plenty of tournaments to get to. We've got RBC Heritage on the PGA Tour, the JM Eagle LA Championship on the LPGA Tour, the Korn Ferry Tour is in Tulum. We've got the Champions Tour with the Senior PGA Championship. But first, let's start with all the talk about LIV Golf. They are in Mexico City. For now, looks like that tournament is going to happen, but a lot of speculation surrounding just LIV in general and whether it's going under or not. So, Will, what can you tell us about what's going on with LIV right now?
Yeah, so like you said, we can kind of tell a lot and nothing at the same time. I mean, nothing's confirmed, right? So we don't know anything one way or another. We're expecting an announcement. I believe the quote from Golf Channel is as soon as Thursday. But for some background, it was actually the first I saw of this, and I think the first like reported source of this was from Ryan French, who's the man behind Monday Q Info on
Yeah, that's
X on
right.
Twitter. And he posted just to read it quite short as I've heard from multiple. This was 19 hours ago at the time of recording, so that would have been uh, I'm not that good at math, but around 8 p.m. last night, I believe, 8 p.m. on Tuesday night. He reported, I've heard from multiple sources that a bombshell announcement on Liv's future is imminent. We don't give out gambling advice, but if you're a prediction market type person, I would bet the under of whatever they have posted. Basically, that was for around, I don't know, 12 to 14 hours. We kind of sat on that without much beyond that, even maybe 15, 16 hours. We kind of sat on that. And then over the past few hours, it's become more and more substantiated as reports, including the one that I'll kind of mostly summarize from Golf Channel, that Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, obviously the money source for Live, the funding source for Live Golf, is on the verge of cutting that funding theoretically to prioritize slash reorganize their efforts towards the ongoing situation evolving in the Middle East. There's
Situation.
also yeah, situation. Yeah, I don't want to delve into foreign policy in our golf podcast today. I figured it's best to focus on the golf aspect of this. But that being said, there was some discussion online as well as to whether they just wanted out of what has clearly been a not very successful product, and this is an opportunity to do that. But yeah, it seems like for all intents and purposes that is likely. I mean, usually when things are reported as heavily as this and they come to some sort of fruition like this, there's a lot of there's a lot of fire where there's a lot of smoke. Um, I don't know. I'm curious to hear if you guys think there's any real chance that this isn't what's going to happen, that they're not going to pull the funding, that this is all like we're gonna come back on Thursday and the PIF is actually going to be like, we've reevaluated and decided that Live is a sustainable product and is something that we want to keep investing ridiculous amounts of money into. But yeah, that's kind of where we stand. We're waiting on the official announcement, and we will certainly come at you with a lot more information as it comes to us, whether that be official announcement, whether that be Brian Rolaff talking about potential reentry programs, which I think is kind of something that's starting to be front of everybody's mind as this live situation evolves. But yeah, that's the nitty gritty of it. But
Yeah, I think obviously there's just so much that we don't know. I do think it was really funny just kind of seeing all the tweets last night, everybody kind of just trying to piece together whatever they could after the Monday qualifier tweet. You had Harold Varner the third tweeting at approximately 8:20 saying, come on Hornets. And then at approximately 9:30 when everything was just starting to go down, he said, "Let's freaking go." Was he talking about the Hornets? Was he talking about anything else? We don't know. Um, about an
Hornets
hour
game is pretty
later,
crazy though.
it was pretty crazy. I'll give him that. Approximately an hour later, Anthony Kim tweets out an emoji of mind blown, 1% better, sober is dope fire emoji.
By the way, like that's the most normal tweet Anthony Kim's ever tweeted.
This is
So
true.
like,
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to read a little too much into that, but like we said, everything I have so many thoughts right now as to what this could mean, what this could do for the future, some possible legacy. Maybe it could, I feel like the aside from Tyrrell Hatton, I know we talked about the whole concept of Liv struggling at the Masters. Obviously, you could tell Sergio wasn't in a great headspace. John Rahm wasn't either. Bryson seemed kind of out of it. And Sergio today at Live Media was talking about how they haven't heard anything and that, from
mhm.
what they know, everything is just full schedule ahead. And the official Live Twitter account is posting Bubba Watson highlights as we speak.
Yeah, that
So
rocked.
um, nobody knows what's going on. We will be coming at you with so much more when we know so much more. But for now, stay tuned, I guess.
Yeah, I think the one thing I'll add, and this kind of relates pretty specifically to, funnily enough, to the original tweet, which mentioned that you should take the under in whatever they have posted. No Laying Up recently posted just a couple hours ago that these predictive markets are all available on Call Sheet and Polymarket, et cetera. But they tweeted that if you wanted to bet no on either Live Golf Mexico, which is Mexico City, which is obviously this week, or Live Golf Virginia. On these events happening, the odds are very against you at Live Golf Mexico City and not long for Live Golf Virginia. Basically, the markets seem to be indicating that they expect Mexico City to go on, but there's not a lot of optimism regarding future Live Golf events. Obviously, with everything that's unfolded over the last 20 hours.
So yeah, if you want to dive into the prediction market, you can bet on whether how much longer Live Golf will last. You can bet on whether Jacob Elordi's character will die in season three of Euphoria. There's
Arguably, same level of importance between
yeah,
those.
Pretty
I'm sure
much,
there's
yeah.
way more action on the latter more than the former. The
I
one
know we
thing that
mentioned. Oh, sorry, Kyle, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's there's has been like some conflicting reports on whether people are getting paid or not because
Yeah.
there's, from Flushing It, they said people have had no issue getting paid, and then the Golf Channel report from
Yep.
an hour or so ago said some people have been having
Including like
issues getting paid.
vendors and players.
Yeah, so I don't know, the Saudi fund is an endless pool of money, so I'd imagine it's more of a, if they decide they don't want to do it anymore, not that they can't do it,
Right.
which is something I don't feel like speculating about at all.
Exactly. Especially there was the report in the same Golf Channel thing that CEO of Live Golf, Scott O'Neill, was at Augusta National last weekend telling everybody that Live Golf was funded through 2032 when asked about it. So, who knows what exactly the details of all this. I mean, again, we barely know the finances of Live. We don't, like, the contract details aren't even like things that we are, we kind of are guessing at the big numbers for signing bonuses. But
And
yeah, it's all
and also like, Sergio, whatever weird something weighing on him, Bryson, the same thing. Why would the collapse of Liv, wouldn't that be like a relief to those guys, I would think? Like, I don't think that would negatively affect their play or anything like that.
it would 5 extra shots in the bunker for Bryson just because of the lift golf
Yeah,
scenario.
he's like, oh my God, Liv is collapsing. What am I gonna do?
Honestly, he's probably the only person that would actually care about Liv
Yeah.
collapsing. Everybody else
Yeah.
would probably. I mean, yeah, there's so much we could say about who would benefit from this, who wouldn't. I think the interesting. You mentioned the conflicting reports as well. I've seen reports saying that Liv officials were in Augusta, Liv officials were in New York to discuss crisis. Live officials were in Mexico to go all systems as normal. Like I've seen, I don't think anybody knows where any of these live officials actually are right now. And so this is obviously just an unfolding situation, and shit's about to get real dicey. Let's just say
Could
that.
could be
Yeah.
a great PR stunt. It's the most anybody's talked about Liv since it started.
Exactly. People were saying on what was it, April Fool's Day, they were making like slideshow posts saying, recently we deleted a post of ours. Why did we do this? Because we've determined that posts get so much more views when they're deleted. Also, we didn't delete the post. Like,
Yeah.
um, I know we said in our last episode that, we're gonna keep our live content, condense it down to like 10 seconds. We might need about 15 seconds now, but
Yeah, this is an exception. Also, this is the end of it, so we're using all 15 seconds for the eternity just in one episode.
exactly. Yeah, there's so much we could say about it, but why don't we save that for when we actually have the info and get on to the
Yeah.
regularly scheduled. I didn't put
Well,
on this amazing quarter zip to talk about the end of Live.
unfortunately, Nick, the quarter is gonna have to wait 1 second because I made a little fun game for you guys. I want to play a
Oh
little
boy.
brief game on the not quite the funeral, but near the funeral of Liv theoretically. I
Live
want to play a
hospice.
quick yes, Live Hospice. I want to play a quick who made more money
Oh God.
game. We somebody had tweeted out earlier. It was actually Jamie Kennedy, but don't go look this up, you two. The top 10 Live Golf earnings, not signing bonuses included, so just tournament earnings. And I was comparing that to PGA Tour career earnings, and I wanted to do just five quick, who made more money. So I'm gonna let you guys pick. It's they're not. I promise they're not all gonna be one way or the other. I mixed it up a little bit. I want to give you Jordan Spieth in his entire career or Taylor Gooch on Live.
What? Why?
Oh my God. Are you kidding me? Has Taylor Gooch really made more?
I don't know. That's up for you guys to decide here.
I,
Uh,
I'm I'm gonna go more, honestly. I'm gonna go more Taylor Gooch.
You're going
yeah,
Gooch.
yeah.
Yeah, he's made 1 million more dollars on Live. He's made 68.7 million on Live. Jordan Spieth's
Wow.
career earnings are 68.7. Jordan Spieth's career earnings are 67.8. So $900,000 more. I think, yeah, $900,000 more for Taylor Gooch.
It's
And
Up
if
crazy.
next.
and if we really want to go there, hold on. If we really want to go there, I
Well,
would put an
don't look. I've got
asterisk.
four more for you.
I would put an asterisk on Jordan Spieth's career earnings because a lot of that was done without Taylor Gooch in the field, so we don't know how much.
That's a really good point.
So
That's
I
a
think it should have an
fantastic point.
asterisk.
Well, to go farther, Patrick Reed's PGA Tour earnings versus Patrick Reed's Live Golf earnings.
I'm gonna go PGA on this one.
I it seems like he's done really well in live. I would think his live earnings.
And Nick is two for two. It's pretty
Yes.
close though. 41 million for PGA, 38 million for Live. Okay, Bryson DeChambeau PGA Tour or Brandon Grace Live Golf.
Oh.
Major winner Bryson DeChambeau, although majors don't count. But yeah,
Do majors count in prize money
that's a
or?
good question. I didn't actually look at whether or not PGA Tour. It's not necessarily. They're not all sanctioned by PGA Tour. Or they're not all like official. I guess they're sanctioned by PGA Tour, but they're not like sponsored necessarily, right?
Right. Yeah,
Like the
it's a
U.S.
gray
Open is a
area.
USGA event, so I'm not entirely sure.
I mean,
But
he won a ton in like the
yeah,
late teens. I'd say PGA.
Yeah, I'll,
it's
I'll take
it's
Bryson
uh
PJ.
it's Brandon Grace. $39 million to Bryson's 37, which is outrageous. I don't need to go through all these. I'll give you, let's see, should I do one more? One more. Because this is the closest one I've got here. Tommy Fleetwood, PGA versus the disgraced Sergio Garcia on Live.
Ooh. This is a FedEx Cup champion, so I think I'm still gonna go Fleetwood.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Sergio.
Sergio is the right answer by $300,000,
Oh,
46.4
come
million to
on.
46.1. That's it. But it is fascinating to look at there's only four golfers in PGA Tour history: Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, and Phil Mickelson that have made more than John Rahm made on Live Golf, which was $88 million in what was that, 3 years, 3.5 years. Um,
And what did it
Also
get him?
shocking, uh, $88 million. Other than that, not much.
Oh
More
my
time with
God.
his family, theoretically.
Growing the global game of golf.
Yeah.
Drones in the air,
Joaquin
shorts.
Niemann second. Taylor Gooch third on Live Golf's career money list,
Oh
by the
God,
way.
will this mean we're gonna have to hear Joaquin Neiman propaganda again?
Yes. No, he's just not good, unfortunately. Okay. With that being said, We can now move on. I have can I do a really quick thing before we do RBC?
Of
I promise
course.
it's quick. I just felt bad because the one thing we haven't talked at all about is that Jackson Koiven is 5 for 7 in wins on the
Yes.
NCAA,
I
and
am
that
much happier
deserves a
talking about
shout.
Jackson Coiven.
Yeah, it's worth a shout that Jackson Koiven, obviously a junior at Auburn, is actually absolutely just dominating the college golf world right now. Like I said, he's won 5 of 7 events in 2027. He just won the Ford Collegiate last weekend. We don't need to go through every single event, but one thing that was interesting to me that I think I remember this happening last year, but I hadn't really thought about it. Obviously, there's the PGA Tour University, which Koiven is not eligible for because he's a junior, not a senior, but there is the PGA Tour U Accelerated. There's all sorts of different pathways. We don't need to delve too deep into it, but you get points basically for as a freshman, sophomore, and junior for awards, positioning in the World Amateur Golf Rankings, NCAA tournament performance, like PGA Tour tournament participation, making cuts, stuff like that. And Jackson Koiven actually achieved the 20-point mark to get his accelerated PGA Tour card last May. The only other two players to do it are uh, Luke Clanton and Gordon Sargent. And Jackson Koiven decided instead he can basically accept this after sophomore year, which is when he earned it, after junior year or after senior year. He forewent the immediate accelerated PGA Tour card. He's back at Auburn, obviously, for his junior season. I would not be surprised if he's back there for his senior season. I believe his quote was, I love Auburn, and I think college golf is in such a good spot right now. I feel like it's going to continually prepare me for the PGA Tour. I'm curious if he keeps on this type of role and wins. Like, I mean, he's obviously the favorite right now to win the NCAA individual championship. Um, I'd be curious to see if he decides to return to Auburn or just like decides to go to the PGA Tour because I think he last year he made the cut on both PGA Tour starts he made. I believe I saw that. And obviously he's far and away the number one golfer in the world amateur golf rankings. So I'd be curious to see what he does, but he definitely deserves a shout for the performances he's been putting on.
Yeah, I definitely remember reading about him during Phoenix Week and just sort of the run he's been on. I kind of made a note that we definitely need to start talking about him just because of the run he's on. I think I remember him saying, just talking more specifically about why he is not already on the PGA Tour in the sense of just what it allows him. Like, A, he can, get his education, get a college degree. That is appealing right there. But also, like, he can have the college experience, he could have fun, hang out with his friends, and also just focus. Because when you're on the PGA Tour, you're also going and you're traveling every week. You're playing, you're kind of grinding a lot. Whereas at Auburn, he can just focus on school, focus on his friends, but also just be at Auburn and develop his golf skills there as well, and play in a tournament once every like 3 weeks. And it's not like if he stays at Auburn, the sponsors exemptions won't come. Like
Yeah.
they're definitely going to be more of those in the next year. And so I think long term, I think selfishly everybody wants to see him on the PGA Tour, but I think in terms of what is best for him and his long term development, there's been talks of we've seen people like Akshay Bhatia sort of forego college and just go straight to pro. I think Jackson Koiman kind of doing the opposite is probably better for him in the long term.
Yeah, and to correct myself, he made 6 of 7 cuts last year, and in his last 4 starts, he was T11 at the John Deere, T6 at the ISCO, T5 at the Wyndham Championship, T4 at the Procore. He has not started on the PGA Tour yet in 2026, I don't believe. But yeah, and it's kind of the same conversation we had also, Miles Russell committing to college and Mason Howell committing to college, Charlie Woods committing to college, things like that. So we don't need to delve into that conversation once again about the college versus turning professional pipeline. We should get to the beautiful lighthouse that is on Nick's shirt and behind him and behind all of us, I think, a little bit.
There we
Yeah,
go.
there we go. But I wanted to make sure we gave him some flowers before launching into the RBC because he's been on a pretty ridiculous tear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So, RBC Heritage, I think we've got 53 guys from the Masters field that are in this field as well. So, another good tournament loaded. Unfortunately, no Rory. He is
Yeah.
Kind of saw that
basking
one
in his
coming.
Masters win still. Yeah, it would have been surprising had he played, honestly. Um, I think everybody's expecting Scotty to come out and play really well. But like I just said, it's a great field, a loaded field. So what are we looking towards here?
Yeah, I think you're totally right that Rory. But I had no expectation that he was going to play after he won the Masters. However, a Scotty versus Rory like showdown at Harbour Town would have been awesome. I would have loved to see that. I think we would have gotten it, but like I don't know. It's so hard not to think Scotty's just going to run away and win this thing. But I do think that, like you were saying, just to go a little deeper on the field, it really is a great like highlight of the talent that's on the PGA Tour, like surrounding Scotty Scheffler. Once again, I said like I think my first note under this bullet point is that Scotty Scheffler might win by 10. But my second bullet is that like bullet is like Cam Young, Xander Schauffele, Matt Fitzpatrick, Russell Henley, especially at a course like this, Tommy Fleetwood, Ludwig Oberg. Like there's so many names that are up around the top of leaderboards consistently recently. I mean, when I was going through these guys, I felt like I was just writing over and over like top three straight top 15 finishes, five straight top 12 finishes, like four straight top eight finishes, whatever. Like there are so many guys on the PGA Tour right now that are playing really consistent, really, really good golf. And obviously, Scotty Scheffler with probably his not probably with his best performance in a while at the Masters. We'll see what he brings to Harbour Town to the RBC Heritage, but I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of the names I just rattled off are at least challenging him for the win.
Yeah, I'd say this is by far or I would say this is the deepest non-major field we've had this year. I think that's not an unfair statement either.
Yeah, outside the players, yeah.
Yeah, outside the players, fair enough. But
Um,
How dare you not throw Sudarshan Yelamaraju in that group?
he's coming. I actually didn't write him down, but I made a mental note to mention him because he's back, baby. Sudarshan Yelmarahu is back, and he is one of those guys that you write, oh, like nothing outside the top 15 in the last three starts. So worth
I mean,
saying.
I feel, you guys saw my rant last week. I feel better about Sudarjan Rahu than a certain golfer from Texas.
Yeah, and he got in ahead of that certain golfer from Texas on the Aon Next 10. So the numbers would agree with you. Before we get particularly heavily into it, I do want to just mention the field. The one like asterisk next to this tournament, not asterisk, but like unusual thing is that since the Century Tournament of Champions was canceled earlier this year, obviously it's the typical opener to the PGA Tour season, but instead of that, the winners from the 2025 season who did not finish inside the top 50 at the end of season FedEx Cup was added to the RBC Heritage instead, the RBC Heritage field instead. So those 10 players that expanded that field minimum are Michael Brennan, Stephen Fisk, Garrick Higo, Joe Highsmith, Minwoo Lee, William Mao, Aldrich Pocketer, Adam Schenk, Sammy Valimaki, and Carl Phillips, who will all be in the field through those wins that they got last year rather than other statuses that they might have gotten in on. And then there's also the Aon Swing 5 and Next 10. We don't need to go into each specific name for those, but
We got Wildcat David Lipsky leading the Aon Swing 5.
we should. That is one specific name we should shout out is David Lipsky. Obviously, Puerto Rico Open Valspar Championship. Was it Valspar that he almost? It was.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, because that's the
Valspar.
one Fitzpatrick won, and it was the battle of the Wildcats at the top.
Yeah, that's definitely,
And then Sudarshan finds his way in on the next 10.
it's not a bad course fit for him, I don't think. I I definitely I'm not saying he's gonna win, but I could see David Lipsky kind of making some noise this week again if he wants to keep up his great run of form so far.
Yeah. And speaking of course fit, I mentioned Russell Henley being a great course fit. The reason for that is that it's one of the shorter ones on the PGA Tour. And Russell Henley does not bomb the ball, in case you weren't aware. It's less than 7,250 yards in 2026, which sounds long for me, but is really short for the PGA Tour. It is quite interesting. I think, when you're watching the RBC Heritage, when you're reading about the RBC Heritage, whatever, one thing that stands out is how different the hole behind us and hole 17 are from a lot of the property. Most of the property is in amongst trees, pine needles. I mean, the narrow fairways and elevated greens trend continues, but or sorry, smaller greens trend continues, but at the same time, it is mostly inland. And you get these last two holes that are out along I believe it's the Collebogue Sound, which obviously can bring a little bit more wind into play. But weather-wise, we're looking at a beautiful week. I think it's like mid 70s and 10 to 15 mile an hour winds. And obviously, those winds will mostly be factors on these last two holes rather than the first 16 playing a lot more inland. But yeah, it's a lot more about accuracy and like I said, narrow fairways, small greens. Accuracy and around the green play is kind of what's emphasized here, which is why guys like Russell Henley really fit the bill.
Yeah, I think, obviously my favorite course on the PGA Tour was Kapalua. And if we can't have that, if we can't have the Century, then a very close second place is Harbour Town. This is by far one of the best courses on tour. I think if I'm being honest, I would love if they were to schedule this event away from the week after the Masters. I think this is such a good course, such a great event, and I think that a lot of people probably won't play this because, I mean, obviously, we have a great field this week, but I feel like, um, you mentioned no Rory, there's no Justin Rose either. And so,
Yep.
those are two names that I feel like really would have made this course interesting. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know.
scheduling, maybe find Tiger wherever he's parked his yacht in the Mediterranean Sea and get him back on the phone and hammer out
Yeah.
this schedule.
I don't know. Kyle, what do you think? Because I see both sides of it. Like on one hand, it's such a tough thing to like. It is a signature event, so you're going to get a lot of guys. But if this was a regular event, like if this was the Valero Texas Open Part Two, nobody is showing up. Like you're having nobody that just played the Masters is in this. That's not true, not nobody, but like no, like of the top 25 OWGR golfers, you're probably getting 20, maybe that, like probably maybe closer to zero. So I get why they put a big event like this, but Kyle, I don't know what you think. Like, would they be better off just calling this kind of a lost week and throwing a smaller term in here, or is it better to force their hand and make it a good one and kind of ride the high of all the people that picked up golf again last week and are like, holy shit, this is fun. I gotta watch this again next week.
Yeah, I mean, I see both sides of it. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if you just honestly take the week off and
Yeah.
put this like
I
next
don't
week
hate
or
that either,
something
actually.
and give
Yeah.
people a little Masters buffer. Just because it feels like so much goes into the Masters, it has to be mentally and physically exhausting, especially if you're playing like the couple weeks leading up to the Masters as well, and then just that big climax. But it is early in the year. The Masters is the biggest major and the biggest golf tournament of the year to a lot of people, and but it is in the beginning of the season, which also is a little bit counterintuitive.
Hmm.
So I think it's smart to have a tournament like this right after the Masters to keep it going, and then we can fade off a little bit after this. But for now, keep it rolling.
I
And to
like
be
that they have their own
fair,
jacket too, the
the
plaid
the
jacket.
jacket is really cool. Did you see the cannon yesterday too?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah,
The
the
yeah.
inaugural tee shot. Well, that's what I was going to say. Like seeing guys, I think the PGA Tour posted this, like guys, like right back to business or whatever. And it's like Jake Knapp early Monday morning, like walking around, like getting himself situated at the RBC at Harbour Town. Like, man, that's got to be a awful like Sunday
Can't
night
be.
like
Yeah,
trip
that
down to Harvard, or I guess maybe drive. I like it's not that far, but these guys are probably flying. Uh, but to hop over to Harbor Town and then just wake up the next morning, put on a golf polo and some pants and try to adjust to the greens here. It's like, God, what a turnaround that's got to be.
And I think it's also worth noting that this event, this wasn't a signature event for many years, obviously before they had signature events, but like you would still get, this was kind of like the big names would skip in terms of like Masters hangover. And you would still, even though it was like a weaker field, this was still regarded as one of the better events on tour just because of the course. And so, yeah, I feel like we kind of
Shout
talked
out, yeah.
about how, PGA National could be wasted. Um, I think this is another one that I mean, obviously it's a signature event, it's a deep field, it'll be good, but I don't know if its placement is where it needs to be.
That's fair.
I bet you there's a lot of guys, I'm sure some guys are feeling a Masters hangover, but I'm sure there's a lot of guys who want to keep their own momentum going and maybe played well at the Masters, but didn't play as well as they would have liked and are anxious to get back out there. I'm sure CBS is anxious to get back out there and improve their coverage maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
clear their name.
so I mean I see a little bit of both on it, but I do like how, like you said, with them posting Nap and a couple other guys just getting right after it. Like that's what it is, man. This is pro golf.
Yeah, every week. Just right back at, and their weeks start on Monday. Ours really start on Wednesday. Their weeks, and for most people, it starts on Saturday or Thursday if you're a real dedicated golf watcher.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, no, they're out there Monday morning getting themselves situated. So good for them. But I don't know who else stands out to you guys on a shorter accuracy based course. I mentioned Russell Henley, and spoiler alert, he's my pick this week. Um, but other one guy I'm curious about, and I'll this doesn't he doesn't even necessarily usually fit, but I'm curious to see Colin Morikawa this week. Just obviously came into the Masters, his distance was way down. We talked a lot about that on Monday. I don't need to rehash it a ton, but he had that injury at the Players which caused him to withdraw, and now he's talking about how he doesn't quite feel like he can swing all out at the driver with that fear of some of the flare up of that same injury. So I'm curious to see if like this he doesn't need to hit it that far, obviously at a course like this. I wonder if that eases his mind a little bit. If he's like, man, I can just like take that easy swing, do it all day, just find the fairways with this, and like find my way around here pretty easily. I'll be in the same places I want to be otherwise for the most part. So he's somebody I'm interested to watch. I don't necessarily think it'll work out that way. I don't necessarily think he'll just be able to tap into an easy swing that finds the fairway a lot more. That's a lot easier said than done. But you never know. I am curious to see how that manifests with that kind of weird hinge injury, like back injury thing that's causing him to just take a little bit of that club speed off.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like another pick for me. I'm really high on Cam Young this week. Not for really any particular reason other than the fact that he's doing just about everything well at the moment. And obviously couldn't get it done at the Masters, but we've seen him just kind of close the door on the Players, have a really good finish there. But just kind of looking at his stats, really everything is above tour average. Obviously, maybe driving accuracy might not be as great as it could be, but he's one of the better putters on tour. He's one of the better around the green players, elite approach play. There's really not a lot that he is not doing well at the moment, and I think he hasn't finished outside of the top 10 since Pebble. I think
Yeah.
you kind of if we can't pick Scotty this week, I think you gotta kind of ride the hot hand on Cam Young there.
Yeah. And you mentioned, I mean, his accuracy isn't like his strong suit, but I think it is still above average. Like I think
Yeah, it
he's one
absolutely
of those
is.
guys that like when you look at who gets like the biggest course fit boost, right? Like that's where you see the guys like Russell Henley because they're usually penalized for having shorter off the tee, like for being shorter off the tee, whereas at a place like this, they get a huge boost because it's not that penalizing for that specifically. But guys like Cam Young, like that driver just works everywhere. He hits it far and like accurate, so it's just he doesn't get that much of a boost here just because it works literally everywhere. So he kind of falls through the cracks in that category, but I totally agree. I think he's like, I mean, when you're playing that good, it's just like, I mean, we've
It's
talked
hard
about this
not to.
before, yeah, and what Brooks mentioned that one time, right? It's like how many guys in this field can really beat Cam Young if Cam Young plays solid, like four, like
Right.
maybe, so it's a good bet for sure.
So, in terms of like overall course history, this has not been one of the better courses from. Obviously, he was T3 in 2022 when basically everybody kind of did it. Harbour Town 2022 was very much like this year's Masters, where everybody was almost trying not to win, and like there were like maybe six people that were actually like within a shot or tied for the lead, and then nobody wanted to take the charge until eventually certain golfer from Texas rose through the leaderboards, and I'm not saying his name until it gives me a reason to say it, but um, rose through the ranks and won in a playoff. But I think that was his only top 10 finish. I think he hasn't finished better than 50th in the 3 years since then. But I think it's important to note he wasn't Cam Young when he was playing those years. He wasn't as good of a player as he was right now. And so I think that's kind of irrelevant at this point.
Yeah. I do want to clarify for anybody that's a little confused by random golfer from Texas, because a lot of them are from Texas. The name rhymes with Jordan Beef, in
Yes.
case that doesn't clear anything up. I know we can't talk about him because Nick gets a little trigger happy on that one for sometimes. So but I also want to make sure we're not just, we could be talking about Tom Kim for all anybody here knows,
We
right?
could,
Random golf.
yeah.
Well, he's not from Texas, but now he is. Best friends with Scotty Scheffler down there. Anyways,
Texas adjacent.
Texas adjacent.
Okay, well, let me talk a little bit about my pick,
Do it.
Patrick Cantlay,
Yeah,
who,
please convince me, Kyle.
I mean, he's been playing well lately. T7 at Valspar, T12 at Masters, kind of out of nowhere.
I didn't even
Um,
know that.
yeah,
Yeah, he was there.
he gained almost a stroke and a half around the green and on approach at the Masters, and was not as good at Valspar, but still pretty good, gaining strokes in both those departments. But really, his tournament history here is pretty outstanding.
It's
Go,
ridiculous.
going back to 2017. So 2017 T3, 18 T7, 19 T3, was cut in 21, and then second in 22, third in 23, T3 in 24, and then last year his worst other than the cut was T13. So obviously he plays well here. For whatever reason, great familiarity with the course. So that's who I'm riding with.
Harbor Town to Patrick Cantlay is basically Augusta to Justin Rose, is kind of where I landed on this
Yeah,
situation. Just one and the
seriously.
same.
It
Dude,
is
just like
stunning looking at
harvests
those.
top three, a five top three, then eight starts. It's like so hard to do without winning.
Yeah, and I know, even crazier. He didn't win any of them, which doesn't make me feel as good, but
Maybe this
we'll
is the
see.
year.
Well, he's got
You
my
never
magic
know.
touch.
I mean, another
Yeah.
guy that, harvests top tens at Harbortown, last year's winner, Justin Thomas. I think that almost kind of flew under the radar for me, him winning. This is his first win since what was it, the 2022 PGA, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
believe so. It was a great win too. He made that long putt on the
yeah,
72nd, right?
I was
So,
watching just
72nd?
some videos last night, and I heard him say on the post round interview that like he's never had to like hole a 20-foot putt to win a tournament before, and so like that was a really really good experience for him. It was really just a crazy experience, and he's definitely not playing the best golf right now. He's kind of I I don't want to make any like giant career proclamations about Justin Thomas because I have not greatly researched the topic, so I'm going to refrain. But it feels like we're kind of far removed from the days of Justin Thomas being a top 10 ranked golfer. And
And you can say
um,
that about another guy you like to talk about.
we're talking about Justin Thomas, Kyle. Let's stay focused here. Um,
Yeah, that's
anyway.
fair. I mean, we didn't even see him last week on at the Masters,
No,
really.
we barely did. I think I saw him like maybe once or twice on the TV. And so it's crazy just in terms of like how big of a golfer he was in the late 2010s. And now, that was his first win. Last year's his first win in 3 years almost. And it's crazy that it took that long. Just sort of the fall from grace of not making the FedEx Cup playoffs. Kind of redeemed himself in Rome a little bit, but was kind of been put through the scrutiny a little bit. And so I'm looking forward to see what he could do this week. I think this is a course that he's played well historically at. I know he had the win last year. He was T5 the start before, T8 in 2020. Um, Definitely someone that knows this course very well, kind of fits the course mold a little bit. So if he can get it going, I definitely think he'll be I know he definitely want to with the field the way it is. He definitely want to win this week.
Yeah, I'll second my Russell or back up my Russell Henley with the little course history too. Four top 20s in the last 5 years, T8 last year, and the T3 at the Masters, which was a little bit sneaky. Like we kind of talked about on Monday, he was, more in contention than like Tyrrell Hatton, who really came back from a bad Saturday with a great Sunday at the Masters. But Russell Henley was not, in contention, but nonetheless a T3 at the Masters, his best finish of 2026 so far, along with three other top 20s at signature events. So he cleans up at these things, at least good positioning, not wins yet this year. But I definitely think the floor is really high, and you never know. If Scotty falters a little bit, he's going to be one of those guys that's up there. And if he hits the right shot and makes the right birdie, he can definitely win this thing. Other guys to watch, I like, I think a couple. Well, one that we never really we mentioned his name a lot, but never actually delve into it a lot is Scotty Scheffler, and I do want to just give him a little bit of time. Obviously the second place finish at the Masters, but Scotty Scheffler won this event in 2024, T11, yeah, last year, T8 the start before that. That is his only three starts. And in each of his three starts, he's gained more than 1.4 strokes per round in approach. Obviously, he is the best approach player in the world. The data probably wouldn't show that if you looked at the last 3 months necessarily, but over the last couple of years, that has been the truth pretty consistently. I think he will be pretty hard to beat if he shows up with the same play that he showed at the Masters. But speaking of the Masters, I don't know. Should I do my prove me wrong guy quickly? Because I
Yes.
kind of want to. This doesn't. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm happy about it. I feel a little bad because I don't think I'm putting him in the best position. But my prove me wrong guy here is Max Homa. I'm just a little frustrated by the Masters merchant type golf that we've seen.
Crazy, crazy
I
phrase
look,
to utter.
yeah. Well, I know, yeah. To be a Masters merchant, there are a lot worse things to
I
be.
mean,
It's the best kind of merchant you can be. Look, he got into the Masters in 2026 because he finished top 12 in 2025, finished T9 this year, so he's back in the Masters
yeah,
next year.
they'll be
Pretty
right
much has
back.
done nothing else. But it is interesting because, like I said, last 3 years at the Masters, T3 in 2024, T12 in 2025, T9 this year. Outside of the Masters, he's got four top 12 finishes since the start of the 2024 season. So in the last 2.3 seasons, however far we are into the season, two and a quarter seasons, whatever it is, he's got seven top 12 finishes, and three of them are the Masters.
That's crazy.
Which is kind of ridiculous. And one of those is a T9 at the Bank of Utah Championship in FedEx Cup Fall. So don't know if I even want to count that. But basically, he truly is just cleaning up at the Masters and doing not much else on the PGA Tour. And again, the reason I say it's unfair is because he's not at all a great course fit here, has really bad course history here, 70th last year after a good Masters performance, T55 the year before that after another good Masters performance, missed the cut in 2023. It's not pretty. But this is unfortunately the event that is after the Masters, and this is when I need him to prove it to me. So this is what we're doing. We Max Homa. I'm not going to put the bar that high. I want to see like a top 25. That's not that much. I don't know. Like he was so good in was it 23 when he won the Genesis, and was it the Genesis he won right at Riviera? Um,
Or was it Genesis or Farmers? Or was it
It
both?
might have been Farmers. But let me look at it really quick. Pull up his 2023. So he won in 2023. He won the Farmers and the Fortinet,
Okay.
and then was solo second at the Genesis. That's what
That's
I guess I'm
right.
mixing up, along with top tens at the Players, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of need to see it anywhere other than the Masters, which we barely have in the last couple of years. And even anywhere other than the Masters at a signature event at a tough course. I know the course doesn't really fit him, but that's it's Max. That's what I'm gonna have to see. I kind of I need something. I need something that isn't just Augusta National. As impressive, as truly impressive as that is, almost more impressive than just being consistently good for 3 years is being only good at maybe the hardest course you play in the entire calendar. So, deserves some credit, but still just bizarre, confusing. I would like to see a little more consistency.
I mean, that was the point of the Prove Me Wrong award in the first place,
Yeah,
was to take the
we've
player that has like the least course fit and see what they could do.
It's true. We've strayed from the origins and proved me wrong, but we're trying to harken back to the to Old Faithful, pretty much.
It's kind of become the show me something. Um,
Yeah, exactly. It's well
so
said.
I think everybody knows my show me something for the foreseeable future. Anybody want to take their crack at a me impression and tell the viewers because I'm still on strike?
Man from Texas? Sure. It's pretty good here, honestly. You picked an interesting week to go on strike. He's got the win in 2022 and the solo second in 2023. This is obviously the Borden Beef that we're talking about here.
You could
Mr.
say it.
Jordan
I'm just
Spieth.
not gonna do
20
it.
That's true. Jordan Spieth 2015 Masters champion and 2022 RBC Heritage champion, T18 in 2025. It's I don't think he's going to do anything here. I can't do the Nick impression because I don't believe it with my heart. But you never know. He maybe no, you do know a little bit. He's probably not going to go crazy. He'll probably log another top 18, top 20. But I don't necessarily see the man from Texas doing anything particularly crazy.
I'm gonna
One
say
of the guys that I could
T12.
see, you're going to say T12. Okay. Uh, One of the guys I could see doing stuff is Xander Schauffele, who we talked a lot about
I
last
could
week. I
say
don't need
that,
to
yeah.
really harp on why. He's just one of the most consistent ball strikers the PGA Tour has, and like I swear everybody, I think after the Masters this will stop happening, but I swear everybody still thinks he's injured even though he hasn't been for like 2 months. He's got three straight top 10 finishes. His around the green play, which we talked about, is kind of important just because of the screens are really small and you're gonna miss them. Even in his hot streak, his around the green play has been a little erratic, but I don't know. It's Xander Schauffele, man. I think the floor is so high. Like, I just don't like. I truly don't see a world where he's outside the top 10. Really, I mean, obviously I see a world, but three straight top 10 finishes here, including solo fourth in 2023. I'd be surprised if that streak doesn't continue through 2026. It just seems like he's he's on a tear right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if he just stays hot. He might even he's one of the few guys that if Scotty's playing really, really well and Xander's playing really, really well, they're actually it's a competition. It's not guaranteed that Scotty's going to win by four.
Yeah. I think, another player that could definitely add their name into contention. I think this might be my official prove me wrong of the week. And this could really go either way. This is one that, could win the tournament, but could also, probably fizzle towards the bottom of the leaderboard. And that's the 2023 champion, Matt Fitzpatrick. Um, Played on a really good level. Obviously, won the Valspar, was very close to winning the Players. He was my pick heading into the Masters, but didn't really display much of anything throughout the week. Kind of,
T18 is nothing to turn your nose up at. It's the
it's
Masters.
nothing to turn your nose at, but like, when he was one of the hottest golfers on the planet, and to come out firing, one, two under par like every single day, like, it's not. I mean, those are rounds that probably would have played very well Saturday, Sunday, but when everybody was scoring on Friday and Thursday, doesn't really get it done. And so, outside of his win in 2023, has not been the greatest of, hasn't been one of the greatest of histories for Fitz at Harbour Town. I'm trying to pull it up right now. Okay, so yeah, winner in 2023, T28, 2024, T38, 2025. Again, nothing to like turn your nose at, but it's a bit of a decline from the win to put it plainly. So with where his game's at now, like obviously, putting has been a bit of an issue there, but I do think it's important to note that of all the previous winners, I believe Justin Thomas was the only winner of the last like 3 to 4 years to like gain over a stroke putting. I don't think putting is very important on. I mean, good putting helps, but I don't think bad putting is going to kill you. And so, very accurate off the tee, ball striking when it's on, it's really on. And so, I can get convinced on Matt Fitzpatrick this week. I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket, but I could get convinced.
I'll throw one more guy out there who this isn't necessarily a prove me wrong or I think he's going to do well or anything. I'm just interested to see how he plays, and that's Tommy Fleetwood.
Hmm.
Um, kind of, inconsistent this year. He's had some good finishes. He hasn't missed a cut, but it feels like he hasn't like been a true contender to win. Um, but he's just a good player on approach around the green and off the tee. Honestly, he's got a lot of green when you're looking at his data golf profile page. Struggled last week around the green, but we know how tough that is at Augusta,
It's
so
Augusta. Yeah.
we can throw that out a little bit. Doesn't necessarily have great course history here, but not terrible either, but hasn't really contended to win. I think Nick, said it last week. It's like, is he going to be consistently really good, or is he just like one of those guys that comes and goes? So just someone I'm keeping an eye on.
Yeah. It
I got a
does.
Tommy Fleetwood rant loading for next
Oh boy.
week.
Is it
If
about whether or not he needs a 30-person field in order to win a golf tournament?
that's on the agenda, it'll
Okay.
The
be
We won't
um
spoil the whole rant. We'll let you tease it.
yeah, I think I definitely, along the lines with Kyle, I think I need to see something this week from him.
Yeah, I think that's more than fair. And then last guy before we move on, you guys know I like to spread my chips around the board and try to make sure I can rattle off as many names as possible. But I'm going with my one long shot. I'm nailing the one long shot this week. I'm not gonna name 20. It's gonna be Andrew Putnam. He's at plus 18,000 to win. Don't bet that. That's such a
Ooh,
bad
love
idea.
that.
Not gambling
Sprinkle five
advice.
bucks
Don't
on
do that. But
it.
again, very similar to Russell Henley in that he doesn't hit the ball very far, but he's incredibly accurate. He leads in the entire field for the RBC Heritage. He leads the field in driving accuracy by a pretty decent margin. That's over the last 6 months of play, and he's also top three in his around the green strokes gain, which is the same period. And obviously, like we said, those are two really important things here in a place with really small, narrow fairways. And I think the greens here are half the size of Augusta on average, a little more. I think it's like 3,600 to 6,900 or something like that, but a little more than half the size of those at Augusta. Obviously, the size of the greens at Augusta is not really true because everything falls off, but that's not the conversation I mean to be having right now. He fits this course to a T, and he wasn't able. So this is not promising. He did finish T18 last year, but did not break into the top 50 at the RBC Heritage in his first five attempts. But he's coming off his best finish of the year, which not well, actually a T2 at the American Express. It's his first start. It's his best finish since then. He had a T5 at the Valero Texas Open in his last start. He obviously did not play the Masters last week, but somebody to watch out for who, if he's playing his game, should absolutely benefit from the course and the way that it's set up. So that'll be my one guy. I'll resist the urge to name 15 more.
Is that because he's the data golf best coursed fit?
Yep. And well, the fact that he's the best course fit and the fact that he's coming off, his one of his best starts of the year, and played well here last year and is plus 18,000, which is a little bit outrageous in terms of like who's around him. I'm trying to pull it up quickly, but I won't be able to do it in the next like 3 seconds. So, but I know Sudarshan Yelmarahu, for example, plus 12,000, also interesting. I said I wouldn't name too many names, but
That's a name I'm comfortable with you mentioning.
yeah. Well, he might be the GOAT, dude. I don't know. He's kind of just
Until
continuing
proven
to do it
otherwise.
over and over and over. But some of the guys around plus 18,000, you've got Jordan Smith, Ricky Castillo, Puerto Rico Open champion. Pearson Coody, Bud Cauley's way better, Marco Penn, Matt Wallace. It's a sea of kind of random names down there. So, we're picking straws in a hay pile. Is that the no needle in a
Something like
haystack?
that.
Needle in a haystack. That's what I was going for. We're picking the needle in a haystack here, but that's I'll Andrew Putnam will be my needle.
Love it. So we've got Will casting a wide net per usual.
Yep. Hmm.
Nick 2 weeks in a row going, hey, this guy could win or he could finish dead last. So I
And he
think
was
I
right
think
last week, to be
I think
fair.
we've covered all our bases here for
Yeah.
RBC. All that being said, Scotty's gonna win, right?
Yes, I think
Absolutely.
Scotty will win.
I
I think
mean,
Scotty will win. Our picks
Scotty's
won't show that because that's not fun, but we all think Scotty's going to win this
yeah,
thing.
Scotty's definitely gonna win. Okay, are we ready to move on to
Yeah,
other tournaments?
let's do it. Yeah,
Let's
let's
do
do
it.
it.
Cool. All right. So the LPGA Tour, the JM Eagle LA Championship in Los Angeles. So we've got 15 of the top 25 ranked players in the Rolex rankings. Unfortunately, no Gino Tidicu, no Nelly Korda, no Charlie Hole, or no Lydia Ko. But a good field outside of that. What are we thinking about the JM Eagle LA Championship?
I'm not thinking a ton. Ingrid Lindblad won last year. She was a rookie. That was a cool win, but she was preceded by Hannah Green winning in 2023 and 2024. And we've already seen Hannah Green. I don't believe she was defending a title, but she won the HSBC Women's World Championship, which had won a couple years earlier, I believe, if not the year before, but at least a couple years earlier. Wouldn't be surprised to see her at the top again. I think she's ranked fifth in the Rolex rankings currently, so certainly one of the favorites. And again, would not at all be surprised to see her defend the title. And she's actually wow, she's one, two, three, five, six, seventh, sixth, seventh in the odds. Hyoju Kim understandably leads the betting after her two wins over Nelly Korda in her uh, recent play. So, but a lot of good players in the field, like you said, Kyle. 15 of the top 25 should be an interesting event.
Speaking of the LPGA, did you guys hear about Michelle Wee West?
Oh no, what was this? I meant to read up on it a little more.
So she announced last month, so she's last played competitive golf at the 2023 US Women's Open at Pebble, but she last month she announced that she'll be teeing it up this year at the Women's Open at Riviera. She won the 2014 US Open or US Women's Open at Pinehurst and then she is able to play in the event because of a 10-year exemption that was extended due to maternity leave. So she's back, or she will be back at Riviera, but she also added another stop at the 2026 Mizuho Americas Open, which I believe she's hosting, if I'm correct there. And I think she gave the first sponsors exemption to herself. And so
Power move.
she
Well played.
exactly, yeah, I don't hate that at all. And
Kind of got
so,
to show up though.
yeah, that is true. I
Kind of
feel
got to
like,
show up if you do that.
she she was one of those players that I think everybody really thought she was going to be a really special player, but really was just injured for a lot of it. Took time off to be a mother as well, and so kind of stepped away to like be with her kids as well. But now she's going to be back. She did make it very clear that this is absolutely not a comeback. She just wants to play. And so um, we'll be keeping our eye on that. But I just thought that was an interesting tidbit that was LPGA news to bring up today.
Hmm.
Yeah, very interesting. That'll be cool, actually. See that. Okay, Corn Ferry Tour is in Tulum. What do we have about this one?
Not much. It seems lovely down in Tulum this time of year. I bet they're having a
Yeah,
blast.
great spot to run a
Um,
tournament.
yeah. Uh, it's a hard course though. Apparently, the hardest course maybe on the Corn Ferry Tour circuit. At least it was last year, playing almost 1.5 strokes over par. Last year was the inaugural iteration of the Tulum Championship. But they're at PGA Riviera Maya. Bryson Nimmer is defending champion. He's back in the field. He's currently 50th in Corn Ferry Tour rankings. I feel like there's a lot of the same conversation we can have about most PGA Tour things when we talk about it ahead of time. Blades Brown is in this field. Ian Holt is looking for that third win to get the three victory promotion to the PGA Tour. So keep an eye out for that stuff. But beyond that, there's not a ton to preview here.
Okay, and Champions Tour, Senior PGA Championship down in Florida.
Yeah, we don't talk Champions Tour a ton, but this one was worth a shout. I figured, Senior PGA Championship, their first major, Champions Tour major of the year. It's at the Concession. Uh, Interesting fun fact about Concession, obviously opened in 2006, but designed by Jack Nicklaus in association with Tony Jacklin. And this was a fun little tidbit that I did not know that pair that designing pair who designed, constructed Concession. Go back to the 1969 Ryder Cup when Jack Nicklaus conceded a 2-foot putt to Jacqueline, which caused a halve in their match and the first tie in Ryder Cup history. So good to know that that sportsmanship shown between the two in 1969 held 37 years later in 2006 when they decided to build a golf course together. Other weird fact, this is the first of three consecutive years that the PGA Senior Championship will be, or Senior PGA Championship will be at the concession. That is not the standard thing that they do. I believe, they rotate year to year as the regular PGA Tour champion, as the regular PGA Tour PGA Championship does as well. But in this instance, they will be at the concession for the next 3 years, which is interesting. I don't know. It's a little bit of fun, but yeah, it should be a good tournament. The obviously it's a major, so the field is the strongest field that you'll get on the Champions Tour. So
Yeah, and the
uh,
concession's a really good course. It used to
it
host
is.
the this feels like a far back memory. The WGCs. I really miss
Yep.
those. I feel like that's what the signature events kind of used to be, the World Golf Championships. I feel like I don't know if this was the last. I forget when did they stop playing WGCs? Was that
I
2022?
I have 2021 that I know they played a concession. I did not double check on 2022. It might have been 2021 was the last year, maybe 2022.
Yeah, because I remember 2021, the WGC at the concession was the weekend of Tiger's second accident, and everybody wore red that day on Sunday to kind of sh sign of respect.
Hmm.
And so that one always kind of stuck with me. That's one that I'll remember. I believe that was Colin Morikawa that ended up winning that, if I
It
recall
was.
correctly.
It was. The last WGC was, if you're counting the WGC Dell Technologies match play events, was
Bring it
2023.
back. Please
Yeah,
bring
but
the
yeah,
WG. We
when Sam
need
Burns defeated Cam Young in a Masters preview 3 years earlier.
God, that was such a good tournament, and I feel like that's something we could have done for our March Madness was Dell Technologies match play. That was so good. I mean, look, I understand why they took match play off the calendar. I
Match play
100%
just rocks,
understand.
though.
Match play is so cool. It really is. From a
That's why the
broadcast standpoint,
USAM,
it's a bit of a headache,
yeah.
but I totally bring it back.
That's why the USAM is like such an incredible event. The like stroke play into 64 or is it 32?
No,
32
it's
person match
64.
play. It's 64, right? Round of 32 or round of 64 is the first. Yeah, 64 person match play rocks. We need to, I know Brian Rollup hinted at it. Hopefully they follow through with this and make the FedEx Cup Championship somehow figure out a way to transform that into a match play event.
Yeah.
Because that's what it should be.
Like you said, do what the fans say. We're right here.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, that would be cool. Okay, PGA Tour Americas,
I know.
71st ECP Brazil Open in Rio.
Yeah, this is not one we've talked about, and that would be because it's the inaugural event of their season. And this was a fun little, like, honestly, I wrote this all down just because I did a little deep dive on it after seeing this and learned a lot about the PGA Tour Americas, which is obviously a fairly new thing. I believe 2024 was its inaugural season. It was a combination of the PGA Tour Canada and the PGA Tour Latino America. They combined in 2024. Johnny Kiefer was the inaugural winner, took home first in the points list. Michael Brennan was the second. Uh, so basically, it's a minor league, one of the minor league golf tours, but it does have direct pathways to Corn Ferry Tour and PGA Tour, where the first overall player receives a PGA Tour card. Or sorry, they don't. No, sorry. Johnny Kiefer, they just both the guys who won are now on the PGA Tour really quickly, but it wasn't actually through this because the 1 through 10 go straight to the Corn Ferry Tour. Johnny Kiefer then immediately won the Corn Ferry Tour in his rookie season, finishing first there to get his PGA Tour card. Michael Brennan won the Bank of Utah Championship in FedEx Cup Fall before even making a start on the Corn Ferry Tour this season. So he's obviously on the PGA Tour as well. But it'll have 15 events across 9 countries, spanning Brazil, Argentina, lots of South American countries, Mexico, United States, Canada, Dominican Republic hosts the final event. Uh, yeah, it's a pretty standard. It's what you think of when you think of a golf tour. It's 36 hole cut, 72 hole total, but it is a feeder for the Corn Ferry Tour and subsequently the PGA Tour, et cetera. And there's all sorts of I won't go into the super nitty gritty stuff about who goes where, but there's also feeders into PGA Tour Q School, where the higher you finish on the PGA Tour America's points list, the more rounds of PGA Tour Q School you get to skip, essentially. So worth keeping an eye on as we go. It will fall into this category of ones that we will talk about the events that are happening and who wins after the fact. But I don't think we won't be going nearly into as much depth about PGA Tour Americas as we will the PGA Tour, the LPGA, etc. But figured it was worth a shout on its inaugural event of 2025. Obviously, its first two champions, Johnny Kiefer and Michael Brennan, have already seen a good amount of success and have reached the PGA Tour very, very quickly after graduating from PGA Tour Americas. So seems to be a good pipeline. We'll see if that trend continues into 2026.
Yeah, pretty cool place for a golf tournament.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, another one. Those tours, man, Corn Ferry, PGA Tour Americas, they go to some awesome places.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty
Rio
awesome.
Olympic Golf Course.
Yeah,
Sick.
it's
for sure.
Super awesome. Okay, and then we mentioned Live Mexico at the top of the pod, so
One,
There's a little
two,
update though.
3.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry. I was scanning Twitter. I don't know if this is everything. I was just scanning a couple minutes ago, and this is the most recent information that I've seen. Nuclear Golf reposted something from the New York Times, or cited something from the New York Times by Gabby Herzig at The Athletic, actually, reporting that high-level Live executives have begun their own personal job searches as the future of the league is in doubt. Members of the leadership team were informed Sunday after the Masters that they would soon lose their positions, and Liv is desperately trying to find a way to continue forward with the prospect of no PIF investment and or a smaller budget. And then, a second bullet point on that from Michael McEwen was that he was hearing from a well-placed source that team general managers are meeting with CEO Scott O'Neill at 4:30 in Mexico City. And they mentioned in the Golf Channel broadcast that the team general manager meeting in Mexico City is, that's a live event staple that happens at all live events. So not necessarily a huge thing, but I think, the inclusion of CEO Scott O'Neill is something worth noting from Michael McEwen there. So again, continuing to unfold, and we will have more of an update, I'm sure, probably tomorrow as things start to come out, and you might see an emergency pod pop up on your timeline if real news breaks anytime soon.
absolutely.
Yeah, so we will keep monitoring that situation as it is ever evolving, and we'll be scrolling through Twitter and everything else tonight and tomorrow as that tournament starts to kick off. But if nothing happens there, we will be back for our regularly scheduled programming. On Monday, we'll have our normal recap show, and then on Wednesday, we will be looking ahead to the Zurich Classic. And our regularly scheduled preview show. Reminder, you can see our picks. They should be out already on our Twitter and Instagram. Twitter at CenterCupPod, our Instagram and TikTok at centercup.pod. And you can always email us at centercup.pod@yahoo.com. Any final words on this one?
I have a really good idea for a segment for if we do the emergency pod. Everybody come up with your favorite live moment. Like just
Oh, has
I know
has to be
I
one
like
of the flash mobs.
favorite lib quotes or live quotes, sorry. Favorite propaganda, favorite. We can almost like divide this into categories. Like I'm not dancing on the coffin, but like we could have some fun with this.
Yeah,
a
and yeah,
lot of
definitely.
different ways to go with that one.
And if you're listening and you haven't done your taxes, you've got a couple hours, so get those done. It's time,
maybe you're
unfortunately.
listening while doing your taxes, and if
Yeah,
so, that'd
exactly.
be a great use of your time.
More of
Yeah,
an
we
incentive
appreciate
for me to
that.
get
That would
this
be
up
great.
quicker.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.